Hi guys, I hope you're all doing well. In this video we will talk about tuples and it will be our last video about built-in Python types in this series. So as the reminder, this is the Python for Beginners series. All of previous videos available in collection. I left a link in the right up corner. Please subscribe and leave your reaction if you found this video useful. Thank you for your support and let's begin talk about tuples. So tuples is the last collection type that we will learn in Python. They work exactly like lists, except the tuples cannot be changed in place, which means that they are immutable and usually written as the series of items on parentheses, not as square braces. So let me create few tuples as an example. So as the first thing, I will open my Python interactive prompt and I will create some tuples. So for example, colors, and I will just store some values. So some colors, yellow, blue, and for example, red. So I just created a tuple with 3 elements. So if we will check type for our colors, you would see that it's tuple. It's Python type tuple. So like strings and lists, tuples are positional order collection of objects, so they maintain right to left order among their context. So they can embed any kind of object, so it doesn't have to be all strings as I just showed in an example. So for example, I can create a tuple with the different objects. So I will just name it new tuple or my tuple. And I will just create to show that here could be different objects. So for example, it could be integer, it could be float, it could be some string, of course, it could be even list or dictionary, or even another tuple. So they support also arbitrary nesting. 1, 2, 4. And just like that, we created the tuple with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 elements with all of them are different types. So you don't have to store just integers or just strings and etc. Your tuple can have anything you want. You can also create one item tuple or empty tuple. So for example, for empty, we will just create it just like that. And for one item tuple, there is some trick that you have to do. So for example, one item tuple, to create it, you need to use the parentheses, of course, and leave a comma after this one value. So don't forget this comma in the end, because parentheses can also enclose expressions. So you need to add the comma in the end to show Python that it is a tuple that you want to create. So for example, if I will just reassign this variable one item tuple and will forget about the comma, we would see, before that, let me just check the type of one item just to be sure that it's tuple. So you see it's tuple. And now let's reassign this one item and forgot about comma. And in the result, if we will check the type again, we will see that it's an integer. So to create a tuple with one element, you need to leave a comma in the end. Also, there is a different way to create the tuple. Sometimes you don't need to use the parentheses. You can just store the values divided by comma, and you will create this new tuple. So if we will check the type, you would see that it's tuple. So you can create it rather with parentheses or without them. Also, there is the possibilities to create the tuples from string or from any iterable. So string, list, or dictionary, or set. So for example, we will have to do that to create this tuple from string, like tuple from string. We just need to have some string, use the tuple, and for example, we would have our test, and let's check what we created a tuple from string, just like that. You can also do it to create it from list, from dictionary, from set, from any iterable. You can access any item by offset, the same as you do for the list or string. So they also support all of the offset-based access operations, such as indexing and slicing and checking the length. So let's just do it. So for example, let's check the length of new tuple. You would see that it's 3. I'll just check what is like 1, 2, 3. You can, for example, check the first element in this new tuple just by using indexing, just like that. So we have 1, or the last using negative offset, or just writing 2, because we have 3 elements. And remember, we're starting from 0, 1, 2. So to check the last, we just added here 2, or you can use -1. Also, tuples supporting slicing operations. So for example, we have my tuple. It's quite long, so you could slice it and, for example, show first 3 elements. And to do that, you just need to use these square brackets from first 3, just like that. So you see, we're showing first 3 elements here. Or you could show some from like 1, from first to 2. So you're just showing 2 elements. 1 is not included, and 3. Tuples are immutable, so they don't support any of the in-place change operations. So for example, if we would try to reassign some element here, just like that, as we did with list, we will get an error, you see, because all our tuples are immutable. Also, you cannot change the size of the tuple, so you cannot shrink it or make it bigger, as for example we did with sets. Even though they are immutable, there was a possibility to make them bigger or smaller. With tuples, it's not an option. You cannot change it after you create it. If you're not familiar with the strings, sets, list, and etc., please check my previous video for this tutorial before this one. It would help you to understand this one better. Then what else you can do with tuples? You can concatenate, you can repeat, iterate through, and check the membership using in. So let's do this operation one by one. So for example, to concatenate, we will add my tuple to new tuple, and in the result we will get the new tuple, which would combine these 2 tuples that we just concatenated. You can also use repetition. So for example, we will repeat my tuple 5 times. So quite a long one. So we got the new tuple where we repeated our tuple 5 times. Also, you could iterate through tuples. So for example, for e in my tuple, and we will print I. So we just iterated through each of the element in our tuple. You can check whether, for example, test in my tuple, and in the result you will get true because test is here. Or you can check whether something not in my tuple, the same as we did with the strings, with the lists. Also, there's the methods that you could use with the tuples. So for example, count. So let's use my tuple, tuple count. And for example, you want to count how much time 1 is in our tuple, and in the result you will get 1 because it's here just once. Also, another method that you could use is index. It would show you on which index the value is. So our 1 is at 0 index, if you could see here. So it's the first element. If value is not present while you're using this index, so for example we would use 5, you will get the value error because value is not present. So as I mentioned before, tuples are basically lists but immutable. So which one to use depends on your needs. With tuples, you can be sure that it won't be changed through another reference elsewhere in the program, but there is no such guarantee for list. So if you want your data to be able to change in the code while you working, you should use list. If you want to be sure that when you create the elements they stay the same, you could use tuples. So that is all for tuples. I hope you have an understanding and of idea behind them. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and leave your comments. See you in next videos, and remember, knowledge is our superpower.